Nobody gets it. It's a thought that can feel so true, can't it? Even when you're surrounded by people. In this explainer, we're going to explore that feeling, why you can feel so utterly alone.
It's a real paradox, isn't it? That silent, heavy feeling in a noisy room. It's something so many of us have felt, and it points to a profound truth. The experience of loneliness isn't really about the number of people around you. It's about something happening inside. So to really get a handle on this feeling, we have to start by looking inward. We need to map out what loneliness truly is, not as a condition of our surroundings, but as a condition of the self.
You know, psychology actually gives us a really precise definition for this. Loneliness isn't just about being by yourself, it's a subjective feeling. And it's an unwelcome one. But here's the most important part. It all comes from a mismatch, a kind of gap between the connection we crave and the connection we actually have.
And this is where we have to make a really key distinction. See, loneliness is not the same thing as social isolation. Social isolation, that's just an objective fact. It means you don't have a lot of social contacts. You could be a hermit living up in the mountains, totally by yourself, and be perfectly happy, right? That's isolation. But loneliness is that subjective feeling, that emotional distress about not having the connection you want. One is a circumstance, the other is what's happening in your heart, in your head.
Wow. This quote from someone in a research study it cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? The loneliness is in your head, isn't it? Now, that's not dismissing the pain at all. It's actually a really powerful way of acknowledging its source. The feeling, the way we interpret it, the entire experience is generated from within.
Okay, so we've established it's an internal experience, but it's not a static one. In fact, loneliness can create its own kind of internal weather system, a self-perpetuating cycle that can pull you deeper and deeper into its grip.
Think about it. The emotions that come with loneliness, we're talking anxiety, fear, even shame, they are incredibly powerful, and they can directly influence what we do, often causing us to pull back, to withdraw, just when we need to reach out the most. And here, we can actually see that cycle laid out step by step. It often starts with some kind of life event. You know, losing someone, moving to a new city, losing a job. That triggers these negative thoughts and feelings. Then, in response, we might start to withdraw. Maybe we turn down invitations to go out. Well, that leads to less activity, which only makes us feel more despair. And guess what? That makes the feeling of loneliness even more severe. The result? We withdraw even more. It becomes this feedback loop that is just incredibly hard to break out of.
And this really captures the heart of that internal struggle. Sometimes you can talk to your friend about things, but even then you have a big struggle within yourself. It shows that even when support is right there, that internal storm of loneliness can feel like this overwhelming force, a private battle that feels like no one else can truly see or understand.
So what is it that really powers this downward spiral? Let's dig a little deeper now and look at the cognitive engine behind it all. The powerful and often unconscious stories we tell ourselves about why we feel this way. Psychology actually has a name for this. It's called attributional style. And it sounds complicated, but it's really not. It's just the way we tend to explain things to ourselves, usually without even thinking about it. When something happens in our life, good or bad, what's the reason we give for it? This small mental habit, well, it has huge consequences for how we feel.
Okay, so look at this. This really contrasts two very different ways of thinking. On one hand, you have someone who might explain their loneliness with a cause that feels permanent and internal. Like, I'm lonely because I'm old, or I'm lonely because I'm just not a likable person. That kind of story, it leads to a feeling of hopelessness, right? But then another person could have the exact same feeling, but explain it with a cause that's external and changeable. I'm lonely because I haven't met the right people yet. See the difference? That story leaves room for hope. It makes action seem possible.
So what this all means is that the story we tell ourselves about why we're lonely isn't just a reaction to the feeling. It can literally determine whether we feel trapped by it or whether we can see a path forward. But where do these stories even come from? They don't just appear out of thin air. They're often shaped by something much deeper, the kind of underlying geology of our inner world, things that have formed our personal landscape over a lifetime. And research points to a few key things that can make us more vulnerable to feeling this way. For example, a personality trait called neuroticism, which is basically just a tendency to feel psychological distress more easily, or having a bias where we're always on the lookout for signs of social rejection. Of course, tough experiences in our early life can play a huge role, And so can things like lowered self-esteem and this nagging fear of being a burden on other people.
This quote from the researcher R.S. Weiss really nails that cognitive bias. When we feel lonely, it's like our brain goes on high alert for social threats. It produces an oversensitivity to minimal cues. We start to misinterpret things, maybe exaggerate the hostile intent of others. A neutral look from someone feels like disapproval. A text that doesn't get a quick reply feels like a deliberate rejection. We literally start to see hostility even when it's not there.
And you know, it's not just about our own personal history. We also pick up these messages from the culture around us. Take ageism, for example. If society keeps telling us that getting older means becoming lonely, and we start to believe that, well, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We start to expect it, so we stop trying to fight it, and in doing so, we help create the very thing we were afraid of. All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've looked at the definition, that downward spiral, the stories we tell ourselves, and even the deeper roots of loneliness. But we're going to end this not with a list of solutions, but with an invitation. An invitation to just gaze at the map we've just unrolled together.
And let's be really clear about this. All of this knowledge, it's not a solution. It's not a quick fix or a 5-step plan to cure loneliness.
Instead, it's a form of seeing. It's a new way of looking at a really painful, really human experience, but with a sense of clarity and maybe without so much judgment. It's about recognizing the patterns, understanding the machinery behind the feeling, and just observing the process within ourselves and in others with a more compassionate, more informed eye. And so we'll leave you with this question. Now that you have this map of a very complex internal world, what can you recognize in your own? What landmarks do you see? What kind of weather patterns do you notice? What stories can you hear yourself telling? The first step really isn't to change the entire landscape. It's simply to know it.